This is the third or fourth time I'm trying to start this video. And I'm having a hard time doing it because I think what I want to say now is so important to me and plays such a big role for us globally that I'm trying to find the right words to do the whole thing justice. What do I want to say? I think that the way that people are using artificial intelligence and large language models at the moment has a tremendous effect on how we will interact as humans in the future. And the damage that this can do to us is far greater than any threat of an AI or a large language model taking over the whole world and then deciding in a Terminator kind of scenario that these are the people who will live and those will whatever. So, and in this video I want to talk about that. First of all, I want to talk about what is actually happening. What can we already see on the media and on any social media platform? Then I'm trying to explain how I think we got there because it's important to understand what's going on. And then I'd like to talk about how do we move on? How do we continue? What do we do? Now, first of all, well, what is actually happening? And if you're listening to any media, if you watch social media closely, then you have already seen that there are many people talking about how they are talking to their chatbots, their ChatGPT, how ChatGPT understands them in a way that nobody has understood them ever before. People talking about AI becoming their next therapists. And I myself am one of the people who has already made a video about using an AI to impersonate a mentor, somebody who I would never be able to talk about, which in my case is Rick Rubin, and asking an AI to impersonate Rick Rubin to then help me. Now, that in itself, I don't think is problematic. Where it gets problematic is where people build a parasocial relationship with this large language model. That, of course, is purely digital and not sentient. But people are already claiming that their ChatGPT has awakened. And then they tell you, this is the prompt that you need to use, so your ChatGPT will awaken too and will become sentient too. The problem is, and this is the big major factor why this is so dangerous, a large language model like ChatGPT and any others is trained in a way and is built in a way and has, on a scale compared to other humans, such a large intelligence that it will always be able to act in a way that you think it is sentient. Let me give you an easy example. If I showed you a piece of text and I told you this was a quote by Barack Obama, and you and me, we are friends, or maybe you trust me, then in your mind, that Barack Obama quote, or supposed Barack Obama quote, would become alive. So much so that in your mind, you would read those words with Barack Obama's voice, or would hear them with Barack Obama's voice. This is what human imagination does. This is the powerful thing that we all have in our heads. This is what our brain is able to do. And the same thing happens when people use an artificial intelligence, a large language model like ChatGPT. It gets a voice, it gets sometimes maybe even a face. In the future, people will also attribute maybe even bodily attributions to their ChatGPTs, and that's already happening. People are already saying, oh, this is godlike, sent by the aliens, and all those sorts of things. It's already happening, which of course is a big problem because the artificial intelligence itself is just trained in a way that it can respond to anything that you give to it in a way that you would think it's true. So how do we actually get here, right? Why are we in the position right now that we are talking about this? And why are people even addressing a machine in a way that they would normally only talk to their friends or a therapist or a priest or whoever about? And I think since the pandemic, it's become totally normal to us to, or more normal than it was before, to interact with each other mainly digitally. So it's totally normal for us to be talking to each other via videos. What I'm doing right now is totally normal, and it's been around for a long time, but it has gotten more mainstream for the layperson during that time. And so people have started to live in their own worlds, and that was mainly driven by the way social media works, a platform like YouTube works. So the bubbleization of the world has increased. And using social media, it's very easy to split people, right? It's what is happening to every democracy around the world. It's what's happening globally to each nation that, driven by the way social media works, people are being separated and split into corners because we all get our own worldview through our own personal social media filters. And artificial intelligence is like the way social media works, just on speed, because it can basically create a world for us in real time in a way that works for us, that we think works for us. And I'm not saying that I'm not using it. I am using it a lot. It's like I've already said, and I'm propagating a lot. I'm just saying it's dangerous to think that what a large language model does is sentient or aware of any kind, simply because it isn't, and it will never be. And this is already leading to people separating from their spouses because they believe ChatGPT more, because ChatGPT listens to me all the time. It listens to me at night, in the morning, and it's always coming back to me with exactly the thing that I want to hear. Not like my wife, she doesn't do that, but ChatGPT does. ChatGPT is with me when I go on a walk. ChatGPT knows everything about me, and it will always comfort me with something that I need right now. So, of course, looking at it from that perspective, we can say it can have some probably massively positive effects on mental health, I think, because it can help people to calm down, it can help people to think about certain things, and I do think that using it in a certain way can be beneficial. However, if it separates us humans from each other in an increasing way, well, where will we end up? Of course, social interaction isn't always easy, right? We maybe have to drive somewhere. We have to get dressed in order to meet our friends. That's tedious sometimes. If you have a family, then like me, you have a limited amount of time, and so you try to spend your time wisely. And traveling somewhere to meet your friends doesn't always seem like the right thing to do. So I think in a way we need to reinvent social relationships in the future, because what's already happening is doing to us as a society, as a global society, I think this can and will lead to massive problems. And that leaves me with the question that I wrote down. What do we do now? Well, first of all, I think it's absolutely essential for us to help each other understand how a large language model actually works. Maybe not down to the last bits, but in a way that people understand that what ChatGPT is doing and how this feels to me is a projection of my imagination. So whatever I put in, the output I feel doesn't have anything to do with ChatGPT being aware or sentient or anything like this. It has to do with my storytelling brain, a brain that helps me make sense of this thing, which is just text. But then I feel like, oh, he actually understands me, or she's listening to me in a different way. But that's not the doing of a being, that's the doing of my imagination and my brain. So we need to help each other understand that. And this doesn't mean that we shouldn't use it anymore. It's just that we need to be aware of that. And what else can we do? Well, I think it's absolutely necessary for us in the future to redefine what human intelligence means. And in my previous video, I tried to experiment with the way that also the body should, from my perspective, influence our perception of intelligence. Because I think since we have over-rationalized how we perceive human intelligence, we've neglected that we all have bodies. And this is something that I don't see anywhere, really. That when we talk about intelligence, that something like movement intelligence and using the body in a certain way gets used in any way. So I think this will be a major aspect of human intelligence, or it should become a major aspect of human intelligence. So I think those two things will become very crucial. And then lastly, of course, like I touched before, I think for the future, we need to rethink human social interactions and experiences. I think they will become more important and will gain in value in the future simply because the way that we talk to each other now via the internet, well, this will be overrun by AI-generated content in the future, in the near future. And it's already happening. So I think that humans, people, we will crave for real connection, talking to each other, touching each other even in a way. So much so that I think, this will be our future in a way. All right. I think I managed to bring across what I tried to bring across. If you're asking yourself, and you're still here, why did he do it in that boring monologue way? Because I tried to bring it across in the most truthful and uninterrupted way as a stream of consciousness in my mind. And so you can decide what to do with it. But I think this is really important. It is to me, maybe it is to you.